Cyber Reapers. Hello, Cyber Reapers. So, tonight, or today, whenever, wherever you are, I would like to talk about a book. You don't know it, but I've been sitting here for maybe 10 to 15 minutes, just in this spot, waiting to talk about this, because my cat has been rummaging about the room, and so I've been waiting till he's been about quiet enough, to start talking, so I am especially hyped and excited to start talking. So, what is this book? Alright, just to start, I'm letting you know it's a botanical horror book, and I'm probably going to discuss a few things that are kinda, maybe need just mild content warnings. I'm not gonna go deep in depth for a lot of stuff, but I think I'm gonna try to start at the beginning of these videos, putting up front just kind of a few, like, setting the tone kind of things of, like, what might come up, words I might say, that kind of thing that might catch your attention a bit. So, just to kind of let you know, this book, well, it involves, like, there's death in it, so there's that, and it's, in particular, there's kind of this mystery element to it. The main character is trying to solve what they think is a murder, and so words like that might come up, like death, murder, that kind of thing, but I'm not going to go in depth on, like, the details, literally the gory details. I think beyond that, it's anything else I describe, I think, should be fairly peaceful for being able to fall asleep or relax or whatever it is that you want to listen to this for, you know? And I'll just give another upfront thing of, like, I'm sorry if my cat makes any background noises that I don't catch in editing this video. I'm also sorry if my stomach starts rumbling because it has been upset for no reason. So, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about the book. This book is called Hazelthorn by C.G. Drews. Now, I've read Don't Let the Forest In by C.G. Drews, and I believe I even made a video for it on this channel. And I loved the writing style. The writing style is so unique. Even just on, like, I follow C.G. Drews on social media, on Instagram and Threads, and their writing style on there is just so particular that when, I think at one point some bot or something on social media stole one of their posts word for word, and I saw it and I went, that's not right, I recognize that writing voice, that's not you, that's C.G. Drews. And later C.G. Drews found the post and went, you stole that. And so I can't believe that their writing is so particular that I could recognize it without it even being, like, beneath their own, like, name or whatever, you know? And so that's what I mean by this, their writing style being so particular. It's very unique. I'm not good at recognizing writing from a specific person, to be clear, so this was quite the amazing moment for me. Yeah, I'm no detective when it comes to that, but that's what really intrigues me about their books. That, and also the premises are always spooky, and kinda like, there's something wrong with the blank. Like in Don't Let the Forest In, there's something wrong with the forest. In Hazelthorn, there's something wrong with, well, Hazelthorn, the estate. So let me talk about it. Hazelthorn. Alright. Our story is mainly about our main character. I'm eloquent. As always, of course. Evander is our main character. He primarily spends his time in his room, and it's not by choice. It's, he just grew up ever since he was about 10 years old. when the incident happened that I'll talk about in a bit. Ever since he was about 10 years old or so, he's been pretty much locked up in his room. And his room is in a giant estate, mansion kind of thing, called Hazelthorn. And that is our setting for the book, for the entire book. Now this place, Hazelthorn, it's a big place. It's got a really big garden that is kind of out of control, and Evander is not allowed in the garden. Evander isn't really allowed out of his room all that much either, except for a few occasions. And, yeah. His legal guardian is, not his grandfather by blood, but kind of a grandfather sort of figure. And, so there's that guy. We'll just call him, Evander's guardian, because I don't actually remember his name. We've got him. We've got the butler. And the butler, Evander sees pretty much every day, because the butler comes in to give Evander his medication, and food, and other things. Who else? Oh, Lori, a very important character. Yeah, Lori. Where do I start with Lori? Let's just say, okay, love interest. But it's weird. And it's great. They match each other's freak. But at the beginning of the book, the last time they really interacted much with each other or saw each other was when Evander was about 10 years old. They're both about the same age. And Lori tried to kill Evander. Even so, Evander still finds himself, drawn to Lori and kind of mesmerized by him a bit. He also hates him, but at the same time he's drawn to him, and it's this weird mix of emotions. He isn't sure why he wants to be around him, and he also hates him. So there's that. And of course, the feelings appear to be mutual. Lori is cold and distant and stuff to Evander. So it's an interesting setup. But Lori is the, by blood grandson of the Evander's guardian, right? And really, Evander doesn't really see anybody else all that much. Evander's pretty much stuck in the manor, and often, most of the time, in his room. But on one day, he finds that the lock on his door, suddenly it's open. His door is unlocked one day, and Evander was like, huh, that's weird. I guess I'll go investigate, see what's going on, who unlocked my door, why, all of that. And he finds, okay, well, I overhear and see Lori and the butler in this room. Butler goes off to make tea, and Evander then goes off to find his guardian, and his guardian, after drinking the tea, suddenly dies. And then all of a sudden, this is all in the blurb, by the way, so I'm not giving any spoilers beyond what is in the blurb. So all of a sudden, Evander inherits Hazelthorn, the entire estate, and all of, his guardian's wealth. So Evander suddenly no longer has his guardian, feeling very lonely, very alone, and all these family members who previously the guardian didn't let on the premises, all these family members are now after his wealth and the estate, and so they're all after Evander, because the estate was left in his name. So they want to control him, and they want to use him, and bribe him, and get his attention to essentially acquire the wealth. And so that brings up wild shenanigans, where Evander learns more about himself and his family than he probably ever wanted to know. But at the same time, it's probably stuff he should know about everything, about the estate, about him, about the family, a lot of stuff. There's a lot of secrets, a lot of twists, and I was super excited because, like, I could sense the direction of the twists, but I didn't know what they were gonna be. And I was going, oh yeah, it's something related to this, right? And then when it gets there, I go, okay, I guessed what it was related to. I did not guess what was actually going to happen with it, though. That was super exciting about all of it, because there were so many twists, and they were scattered throughout the book, too. It wasn't just, like, all at the end. There was stuff all over the place. It was great. I especially loved the one in about the middle or so, regarding the family. And so it was amazingly well written to be, like, super exciting. I felt like I was learning something new about what was going on in every single chapter, and it's especially fun because Evander's kind of an unreliable narrator for reasons, and he's also just so much in the dark that we're learning everything with him, and we're feeling, like, betrayed with him, or we're feeling overwhelmed with him. He feels a lot of intense emotions throughout the book, which is completely understandable given what he's going through. So, well, that's wild. And then at the same time, also, just to kind of mention Laurie again, learning more about him, and their dynamic is really interesting. So at the start, it's kind of, Evander thinks that someone may have, like, poisoned the tea that his legal guardian had drank. Oh my gosh. He thinks someone may have murdered his guardian. So the only thing that really keeps him kind of sane through his grief is this purpose of, like, okay, try to find who did this to him. And while going through all of that, investigating, he discovers a lot, like I said. And the entire book, I'm just hoping that Evander gets peace by the end of the book. Ideally peace that is, like, happy, you know? And I'll say that the end of the book wrapped up in a good way, I think. In a way that felt satisfying, and I enjoyed. What else? Just, like, Evander's a really cool character to follow. I already said a few reasons, like the unreliable narrator part. And it's easy to follow his emotions, the stuff that happens, like, I feel for him quite a bit. In addition, I'm also, like, questioning him throughout the whole time, because the unreliable narrator thing, I'm kind of going, wait, go back to what you were just saying. I want to know more about that. Don't just, like, brush over that. But I can only talk at the book. It's not going to respond to me. So, it is what it is. And also, in terms of representation as well, Evander and Laurie are queer, and also, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure I remember if Laurie was also disabled, but I know there's definitely disabled rep when it comes to Evander, because Evander, I'm trying to remember what the book said. At the very beginning, there's, like, an author's note that said this book is essentially, has a lot of autistic rage, or is like an embodiment of it, and I agree, 100%. But I'm trying to think if it was actually explicitly stated in the book or indicated Evander was autistic, but they didn't say that that's what the word was, because the family was super an unsupportive environment, and I think that's one of the most hard-hitting parts of this book, is that Evander is dealing with a lot of the social as well as like the physical and mental, like a lot of the issues all wrapped up in that, of growing up autistic in a very unsupportive environment where like the family is trying to snuff that out of you, trying to make you quote-unquote normal or quote-unquote fixed, you know? And that's, Evander is just like having so much trouble because of that, because of the way the family is treating him. And it's just, it's a lot, it really is. It dives in so much to how bad it can really be when you're feeling, how bad it can be when like an autistic person is like feeling so overwhelmed and at the same time so unsupported, because it's bad enough to feel overwhelmed and like not comfortable in your own skin, just in of itself, but whenever there's other people trying to like get you to stop expressing yourself in the way you need to, it's so much worse. And so yeah, it's a lot, and yeah, I think it's very relatable for anybody who's, I mean, especially like anybody disabled, I think, who's ever, especially who has ever like had people who just don't get it, who don't get that it can't just be remedied as easily as they think, you know? And so this book screamed, just this sort of, this primal feeling of just let me be, you know? Let me be, leave me alone. Let me be the way I am. And what's so lovely too is that Evander ends up actually connecting with Laurie in that way, because Laurie does just let Evander be who he is. And in fact, Laurie is like trying throughout the whole book to help Evander realize who he is. And it's really beautiful once I got to the point of figuring out kind of what Laurie's perspective is throughout the whole book. It's really neat when it clicks. And if we're talking about Laurie, let me just say I love the two of them together. I love Laurie by himself though too. And the thing about, I'm not sure if he's neurodivergent as well. I thought there was maybe a mentioning of that somewhere, but don't take my word on that completely. For sure, he does have an injury that he's had for the past, I think it's been since the when they were 10 years old incident, to where one of his arms he just can't really use, and it's like just in a brace all the time, and it hurts all the time, and he's hiding the pain, and just, yeah, and he deals with family being, rather rude about that in unsaid ways. I guess rude in terms of their gesturing or their behavior, rather than anything that they actually literally speak about. And I actually found that almost worse, realized it, I went, oh wow, I did not even notice that that was what was going on. Yeah. But what else can I say about those two without going into too deep? Evander and Lori just are really a really wonderful pairing, I think, because I think I'm trying to figure out a more universal way of saying this, because not everybody has been on social media in the certain times to be able to know the certain words, but if you understand this, then I'll say it. Like Evander and Lori match each other's freak. They are both, they are both odd and weird and quirky, and I mean that in a way I'm not sure I can describe without telling you about certain parts of the book that I think are better left for you to read instead of me describing it. Yeah. Let's just say that they understand each other, or they work to understand each other and appreciate each other. They're also very careful about consent as well, asking each other if it's okay before doing something, or like waiting a second, an invitation before doing something, that kind of thing, which Evander specifically notices, because of like how much of his life he didn't have control over anything, but Lori is trying to make sure that Evander is comfortable with something before doing it, and that's just super important and amazing, not just to Evander, but also for anybody reading. Yeah. Oh, in terms of anybody else, by the way, they're not the only two characters of the book, but they're the only two characters of the book that I actually like, and I'd be surprised if anybody actually, likes the other characters in a way of, I'm saying like too much, sorry. I like to hate the other characters, or I love to hate the other characters, if you've ever heard of that. Love to hate, thing, because the other characters are so well written to be horrible that I really do not like them, but I like their place in the story, and I like that I hate them all for different reasons, because each person has a different reason, or at least multiple reasons, for me to not like them. So that's pretty impressive to get me to just dislike every single character except for two, and all of them are different reasons for me to dislike them. Yeah. And there are some that I dislike more than others, because there are just some that are more atrocious than others, but they're all atrocious, and it's wild. I really did not see that, those twists coming, that made me dislike them so much. But yeah, they are horrible. I'm trying to think if there is a single other character other than Evander and Lori that I actually liked. Yeah, I don't think so. Well, I don't know if you consider it a character, probably not. I would say no-ish. Well, alright, let's talk about the garden, right? So there's there's botanical horror in this. I don't think I've actually mentioned much of it, but I'm not gonna go deep into it, just kinda gonna say the garden acts more alive than what... Well, okay, gardens are alive because they're made of plants. Let me rephrase. The garden moves. It behaves in ways that typical gardens do not, and are not supposed to, and if your garden starts doing stuff like this garden, you should leave, because this garden is scary. So, let's just say that in terms of the garden, I think it was very creative. I haven't read a book where instances of this garden's use or role in the story. I haven't read a book where it's like this, and that's all the detail I'll go into about how it works. Just that I thought it was unique and creative. I loved it. And it did kind of almost seem like its own character in a way, based on the way the plants were behaving. And I found that really neat. There's more I could say on that, but you have to read the book, so you might understand why I'm hesitant to talk about the garden as like a sort of embodiment of a character if you finish the book. But yeah, let's get back to other stuff so that I don't get more close to spoiler territory. Other things, the writing style, as always, hit. I say as always. I've only read one of their other books, but yeah, Don't Let the Forest In was a wonderful book. Hazelthorn, this one, also wonderful. Like, I don't know which of the two I like better, but I love them both. And I didn't really know much about this going into reading this book. I really only saw like a couple of the character art posts, and I knew it was like botanical horror. So, just as always, I think it hit in a way that I said as always again. I keep doing that. I think as before, with the book I read before, the one book, Don't Let the Forest In, Hazelthorn also hits, because it feels like such a creative, not only a creative story, but also a creative way of telling it. It was like Don't Let the Forest In, but also very, very different. So I don't know how to describe how they fit in the same sort of category of like genre and behavior, but they're very different stories. Yeah, I think that's all I can maybe say on that, of comparing it without going into specifics, maybe. Okay, something that I just thought about actually that does connect the two books is the main characters' internal dialogue or descriptions are like, they're lovely. They're so morbid and lovely. The language is often eloquent and intellectual and describing really horrible feelings with really pretty language of like metaphors and similes that are kinda grotesque. It's a really odd mix of like grotesque and pretty meshed together with language. And that's just kind of how the characters describe their feelings and what they see, what they experience, their senses, their mental states, lots of things. And I love that that's very consistent throughout both books. The main characters just are like that. They just describe things that way. And that's really cool to read because it's such a unique perspective, I feel like. Yeah, there's so many quotable moments, really. But I can't memorize them because they're too detailed, I feel like. Maybe I have to highlight them, just go back and highlight a bunch of them and put them on note cards until I memorize them. Yeah, I think that's about all, actually. I just looked over my notes, and I pretty much covered everything, so that's pretty neat. There's so much in this book that I loved, and I think I ended up maybe reading it over the course of like 2 or 3 days, because I was pretty busy for the first part. of when I was like just starting reading it. So I had to break it up into maybe 2 sessions of an hour or 2 or so. But then by the time I got to like halfway through the book, I needed to finish it that day. So that's what I did. I stayed up till 4 a.m. By the way, oh, I just remembered because of the 4 a.m. thing. I don't recommend reading this before falling asleep. I did the first night read it before falling asleep, and I dreamed that I was Evander in Hazelthorn. Not the fun parts, just the horror parts. So just letting you know ahead of time, the forest or the garden or whatever might infect your dreams if you fall asleep while before reading. Wait, after reading. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe this video might inspire that. I don't think so though, because I think it's the language that really entrapped me. But I don't know. Yeah. Alright, but really wonderful book, and I did get like addicted after the 50% mark or so, and I gotta finish this book. I gotta know how this ends. It better end in a happy place for Evander and Lori. Everybody else, I don't care. Well, actually, I hoped that they would maybe get retribution, but like, other than that, I was like, as long as the main two are happy, I'm good with that, you know? So, yeah. Alright, now that's all. Thank you for listening. Even as I like go off at the end with more dialogue or more speech that I didn't intend to include. I completely forgot about the dream thing though. It's been about a week or so since I had that dream. Yeah, that was wild. Anyway, thank you for listening. You are an awesome listener. And I hope that whatever you do next, wherever you go next, it is fun and or relaxing and or worthwhile to you. And ideally all three. Alright, bye.